The Rockets and the Spurs, the Wizards and the Celtics will be playing their 7-game series. I don't see that series going under 7. I think that whoever's on their home court is going to start taking it from now on. I talked a lot about the Wizards and the Celtics yesterday, but the Rockets and the Spurs played, and when the Rockets get gunning, we know that they score points, and the Spurs do not have an answer for them in transition defensively. Popovich even said after the game, if you were to go back and watch highlight tape of our defense in that game, I'd be fired. So at least he's a humble man and knows where he stands.
And he sits down.
And he sits down and be humble. But so Harden was working extremely well. Patrick Beverley had an extremely emotional press conference afterward. He found out during the first quarter of the game that his grandfather passed away. And again, it's a reminder very quickly that yes, these are athletes that are playing on the highest level and they have reach and social media exposure and they are famous to the extent of the word, but they are also human. And tragedy hits them as hard as it can hit anybody else in this world. And unfortunately for Patrick Beverley, he had an emotional game. And look, we've seen it's unfortunately dominated the headlines. It's not just him. There's been Isaiah Thomas. It's also the story that always comes up. It's always the Brett Favre of it when it happens to Brett Favre and he goes and throws for 4 touchdowns and 300 yards. And there's something that makes the player play a little bit harder. Well, Patrick Beverley plays extremely hard on defense no matter what. And he got a couple of buckets in that game as well. We have the bracket, and then Francis, the biggest news out of this morning, which we'll get to in just a second. So the playoffs bracket, I'm safely going to say the Warriors win in 4. The Cavs are the first NBA team in NBA history to go back-to-back starting the playoffs 8-0 through the first 2 rounds.
That's insane.
Nobody wants to play the Cavs. The Wizards and Celtics don't want to play the Cavs.
Can they just have a bye to the final? Can they jump? A leapfrog? It's
scary that, and someone said in the comment section, could Kyle Korver play 29 minutes if they were to make it to the NBA Finals and play the Warriors against a team like the Warriors? Doesn't have to play 29 minutes. He can play 10 minutes, come off the bench, hit 2 threes, and leave. It's like what Ray Allen was doing with the Heat. Specialists.
Very much so.
They have so many little keys up their sleeve, or aces up their sleeve. Ace in the hole.
Have you got keys in your sleeve?
I don't have keys in my sleeve.
I don't
There's so
think
many keys to the game, aces up the sleeve. The biggest news, though, I'd have to say, is that Kyle Lowry opted out of his contract.
Yes.
And he will test free agency. For one, Raps fans, I don't think you need to be extremely worried. I'd be a little worried, but not extremely. It makes, to me, no sense for any player ever to immediately sign a contract extension. Because the money that's available in free agency and just testing it alone is just simply keeping all your doors open. Give yourself a chance to meet with other teams. Now, that scares, the loyalty aspect of the NBA, sure. Kyle Lowry's been a staple, if not 60% of the reason the Raptors have been as successful as they are. But he's only been this Kyle Lowry for about 2.5 years. Before, he was not nearly as known in Memphis and Houston, but I mean, DeMar DeRozan says in his press conference, hey man, if we had LeBron James, we would have won. So maybe Kyle Lowry wants to find his own LeBron James. Maybe he's thinking that he wants to go and maybe compete in the Western Conference. I don't know where, but I would like him to stay in Toronto. I think that there's still a chance for Toronto to get back to the Eastern Conference Finals with that duo.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. It makes sense that any player is going to try to bargain their best possible deal. I wouldn't be surprised. I believe would you imagine Kevin Durant would opt out and then sign a contract again to get more money with the Golden State Warriors? Well, I don't know how his situation works.
The agents kind of know and will tell their player, their client, how much is available. They'll be like, look, if you re-sign. I guess the one way I can see this would be they don't want to deal with the drama and the headlines and maybe just the media, or it's taxing. It's their summer vacation, right? They play hard for 8-9 months, it seems like. They get 2-3 months off before they're back in training camp. Maybe they're saying, if I sign that contract extension like Westbrook did, I don't got to worry about any of that. They know where I am. Can't be any headlines. I'm staying with the Thunder, or if they're Kevin Durant, I'm staying with the Warriors, or if you're Kyle Lowry, I'm staying with the Raptors. But I think when you're not on a team like the Warriors or the Cavs, the Spurs right now, or the Rockets, you're probably looking at it going, am I in the best possible chance to win a title? And what do I want to do for the next 3-4 years of my window of opportunities closing? He's going to be 31. He's got 2-3 more years left, I think, of this Kyle Lowry, and then it starts to fade. they're not all LeBron. They're not all going to get better at 32.
Yeah.
They're going to most likely be like Dwayne Wade and unfortunately get worse.
This Kyle Lowry, I think, still is this Kyle Lowry during the regular season, and as we know in the playoffs, he's got glimpses of being that Kyle Lowry. It really does play at a phenomenally elite level, and anyone, I think, with a need for a star point guard would be looking at someone like that.
Knicks.
Yeah, Knicks. But I mean, the Spurs, I don't know how long Tony Parker continues, and that's another one that Chris Paul was getting floated around there as well. Like, but he's going to get a shit ton of money probably thrown at him. The Clippers, it's a lot of money to turn down as well, but it is all down to this shift in mentality that I think is prominent, but I may just be a crazy scientist who thinks that everyone just wants to win titles. But I'm thinking about if I was in, if I was in that area, and if I'm a player like Kyle Lowry, who's not just a squad player, he is a elite player and has the ability to continuously show that he's elite. The same way that I now have John Wall, who you said best point guard in the East, is another one that at some point they're going to consider himself. We just seen a guy leave a team that had a great chance to go to a team who's probably, in my opinion, gonna win it. That's just from what I've seen. And he's gonna get exactly what he wanted. Kevin Durant, whether you hated his move or not, he's gonna get that ring. There's finally someone gonna put a ring on it for him. And then you gotta think that if you're John Wall, you're Kyle Lowry, you're Chris Paul, you're Anthony Davis, you're some of these guys that just are such quality players, they must just be thinking like, do I even have a chance? Because that's all they really want. The Raptors have a chance. Like, I'm not saying they don't, but when you get swept by the Cavaliers with such ease, you must think to yourself, okay, well, unless you're going to give me more weaponry, what am I supposed to do here? DeMar DeRozan, who's arguably the Robin to this Batman, comes out and goes, yeah, they had LeBron. What the fuck does that mean? That means you don't. No, I get it. It was more tongue in cheek than anything, but you don't have the thought or the confidence that you can beat a LeBron James team. So what do? Do you just hang out until he retires?
No, you can't do that because look, we probably did the clip too. Should teams wait for LeBron James to stop playing basketball or play at this level? The thing that's unfortunate about that is there are zero signs that he's slowing down. There are zero signs that he's getting worse at basketball. Actually, every single sign points to him getting better at basketball. He's having his best playoffs ever. He's averaging numbers that actually are better than Michael or Kobe's, pretty much. He's got 35 points per game. He's shooting 55% from the field. He's shooting, just to put this in perspective, he is more efficient in the paint this postseason than Shaq was during their their playoff sweep until they ran into Allen Iverson. So better percentage in the paint, and he's shooting better than Steph Curry did last year from 3 in the playoffs.
And he's flicking balls around his hand while he's doing it.
That's when people say it's like, oh my God, this LeBron James thing needs to stop. It's like, no, actually, it should only be continue to be discussed for the reason that we didn't stop talking about Michael Jordan when Michael Jordan dominated the NBA. We didn't stop talking about Kobe Bryant when Kobe Bryant was dominating the NBA. This is what you have to grow to expect and get used to, is the fact that at the very worst, the third greatest basketball player to ever step foot on a basketball court is playing, and it needs to be appreciated. And if you hate LeBron James because you're an anti-LeBron guy, you're not a fan of him, that's fine. You could be LeBron haters, but there's an idea of respect that has to go towards it. So Kyle Lowry, I think I'd like him to stay with the Raptors because I'd like to see the Raptors actually get a dominant front court piece, not just
fit in like Ibaka.
And I thought Ibaka, when he played well, was enormous against the Bucks. And in 2 of those games, he stepped up big. And then Valanciunas sometimes plays big. But they don't have the consistent front court guy that they can go to really work off the block. They don't have the Marc Gasol of like the Grizzlies. They don't have in times LaMarcus Aldridge for the Spurs. So I think they got to go out and get somebody like that, an elite scoring wing or somebody to power the front court. Or they got to find their own Nikola Jokic, that type of thing. A young guy who can pass from the center position, score from the center position, defend from the center position. So if they can't find that piece, what's going to be really interesting to me is now that you got Lowry opted out, Chris Paul, I'm safely going to assume, is going to opt out unless to figure out what he's going to do with his future. Steph Curry, technically a free agent. I don't think he'll opt out, but you do not know, but still technically a free agent. So you have 3 game-changing point guards And there's a chance in a way that I can see if Chris Paul leaves, is there enough left of the Clippers to say, sure, we'll throw the money at Kyle Lowry? I'm not saying they will, but the Spurs, as you mentioned, need a more healthy point guard. Lowry's not necessarily the most healthy in the world, but the Pelicans have Cousins and Davis, so there's actually a reason to be like, that could be fun. Let's go to New Orleans.
Yeah. Imagine Chris Paul joining that trifecta.
I would like to see Chris Paul join the Knicks, but
he's from New Orleans.
Also,
right?
Porzingis is tweeting out that he wants to go to the Clippers, but it's fine. Everything's fine in New York. It's going to be fine. The Mets are a disaster. The Knicks are a disaster.
Well, the Mets lost a game that was equivalent to a NFL football game, so that was cool.
They lost 20, I don't even know.
What was it, 23-3?
No, we scored 8 runs.
Oh, 23
we
to 8?
just gave up 15 more.
That's cool. Cool. You can't say that. But everyone that has the same argument to soccer or baseball is like, it's so low scoring. There you go.
You got all your runs for the year.
What a game.
All right, comment below. Where do you think Kyle Lowry signs? Does he sign with the Raptors, Spurs, Knicks, Bucks? Bucks?
Giannis
No.
and Kyle Lowry?
No, he wouldn't do that. Sorry. But